Hello, regulation best interest went into effect yesterday, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. I think it's a little bit confusing what it is and whom it applies to. So let's go through that a little bit. The idea is we were going to take the fiduciary rule and apply that to broker dealers. It had already been applied to investment advisors. Now, the industry didn't like this, saying that it'd be cost prohibitive to implement the fiduciary standards in the broker-dealer space. But let's go ahead and recognize that there are, in fact, differences between the two. With an advisor, they already have, again, this fiduciary responsibility. The relationship between an advisor and a client is long-term. Right? They're helping you manage your wealth. Thus, they're providing care and loyalty to you and your wealth, and they can't put their interests ahead of their client's interests. Now, on the broker-dealer side, there are many of these same elements, but there are differences, legitimately. One is primarily a commissions-based business, and you typically do it transaction by transaction. Consequently, by its very nature, it's short-term. In fact, you might have multiple broker-dealers that you deal with regularly, whereas you typically have one investment advisor. There are differences. So how can we apply some of these same standards to broker-dealers that we were already applying to investment advisors? The initial thought was, well, we can apply the same regulations to broker-dealers, but again, there was some pushback. So what we ended up with was regulation best interest, which applies to broker-dealers in an attempt to fulfill some of these ethical goals that were in the fiduciary rule. So what's new here? Well, one change is that recommendations must be made in the best interest of a client instead of being just suitable to the client. So in the past, a suitable investment could be recommended even if the commissions made it not in the best interest of the clients. It's important to note that in the regulations, the actual definition of best interest is not specified. Also, broker-dealers cannot put their interests before their clients, and they must exercise a reasonable diligence, care, and skill when dealing with them. Now, again, this is supposed to fulfill these positive changes without leading to greater costs of doing business, which could ultimately lead to consolidation and then fewer choices for the investors themselves. Now, there are criticisms, and I think they're in some cases warranted. It is a bit confusing. It took me a little while to understand exactly what was going on here. So I do find it confusing, and I feel like there are more questions to be answered. Many are saying that ultimately this rule was designed to protect the industry more than it was designed to protect the investors themselves. It really doesn't do much in terms of properly assisting investors in making informed investment decisions. And ultimately, most people on both sides are saying it really doesn't go far enough. So questions and confusion here. Ultimately, I will go back to my mandate that we need to, as an industry, demand better of ourselves, demand better than is being imposed on us by regulations, and that by doing so, we can use this to drive businesses, to drive our profits, and make the client better off at the same time. Thanks so much.